Ladies and gents.
Everybody. Hey, I'm back.
Welcome. Oh my God.
It's like Sasquatch.
John has been spotted. He's real. And here he is. And some of you may have noticed.
We have a special guest.
Yes. We have a guest.
Marie Dumont.
Marie Dumont.
She is from the Mid-Florida Bigfoot Research Team.
Yes.
Can I get that right?
Yes, research group.
Research group.
Yes.
Team. It's a team effort.
No, it's a group, not a team.
It's both. It's both. So I have the group, and then within the group, I have my personal research team.
Oh, well, there we go.
Right?
So everybody's right except me.
So let me tell you how I first met Marie.
How did you first meet Marie?
So I have followed their group for a long time. And I had no idea that we knew anybody that knew anybody that knew anybody that knew her, right?
Right.
So we went to this great little conference down in Punta Gorda. Right. For Phyllis
Cesar.
Mm-hmm. What a beautiful lady. She's got a great soul.
Any relation to Dawn?
No. And
sorry,
she's alive.
I'm here all week.
Thanks. And so I'm sitting here, and so one of our mutual friends, Nicole Farrell, she knows Phyllis, right?
Okay.
And she goes, "We should go down there and do that." I'm like, "What would we do?" I know we have a paranormal team, Parageek seat right there.
Ding.
Ooh, almost showed my boobies. I get beats for that. So that's what I keep telling me, and I keep doing it, and they're lying to me. I'm just saying.
I'll bring you beats next time.
So anyway, we went down, and it's just amazing that here's a lady I've been following her group, and I'm like, oh my God, that's the lady from. I always considered you guys Ocala more than I did anything, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm like, and Nicole goes, oh yeah, I know her. And I'm like, okay. And then
prove it.
And then Mr. Shealy gets up there. I'm like, oh, I interviewed him for something totally different for the Weather Channel.
Yep.
Long time ago. I did an interview. I'm like, oh my God. And then there's RPG.
Yep.
Right. He shows up. I'm like, dude, Expedition Bigfoot. Right. And I'm sitting there going, Nicole did well, right? So I finally got to go and talk to Marie, and I got to, and actually, and Connor Flynn, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Connor was there.
Oh, I want that name.
Yes.
And that's a great.
The only would be better be Connor O'Flynn. That would make it just like the ultimate Irish drinking name.
So, and I'm not trying to dominate the story right now, but this just, but I'm sitting there going, wow, I've watched all these people, and now I'm meeting them, and I'm like, this is super cool. Come to find out, RPG's in my backyard. Come to find out, Marie is in our backyard. And I'm like, oh, we should all be all hanging out together all the time. I'm just saying.
Yeah, because we have some, I don't know, resources here to make like moving pictures
just something. I don't know.
Yeah.
And one of the big reasons, group. And Mike's not on tonight because I'm afraid she would take him back as found one.
Yeah, exactly. he is evidence.
Love you, Mike. I'm just saying, dude.
Yeah, he's the missing link.
Yeah, it is. So, Marie, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for driving all the way over here, because I know it is not fun coming to good old Port Richey.
Yeah, it's not the greatest drive in the world, but it's well worth it. It's good to see you, John.
Nice to see you too. It's funny. Sometimes my wife will go, okay, who's Marie? I'm like, she's this cool lady. She does Bigfoot. She goes, enough said. So I'm constantly, because every time she puts something, I'm like, oh, that's great. And then I reshare it, and then it's a big whole reshare. Have you ever noticed that I put stuff out there and people go, that's cool, or that's funny, and it's not even people that I would think every million years that would have anything to do with the paranormal. Because she's not just Bigfoot. She's also paranormal.
She's Bigfoot?
No, she's not.
No. Oh.
Dude,
I see
right
what
here.
you're saying.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry, I totally
like
misunderstood. No, that's why I was wondering. No wonder we can't find them, because we're looking for 7.5 foot tall hairy creatures,
and here I am, 5'4".
There you are at 5'4".
Mm-hmm. Sees
Boom,
the
done.
side of it. It's
Well, that works for
Mike's the hairy.
Yeah.
Poor Mike's not here to defend himself.
I totally get that. But he's out there somewhere watching.
Let's let Miss Marie talk. So, Miss Marie,
yes,
what got you into Bigfoot?
Okay, so I have been a paranormal investigator for over 30 years. And I first started out ghost hunting, which is how I know Nicole, right? Then it evolved into aliens and UFOs.
Okay.
And then for the past few years, I've changed my interest. I still do ghost hunting and,
Right.
searching for UFOs and stuff like that. But I have some friends who are into Bigfoot. So we started going out together into Ocala National Forest to check things out.
Right.
And there are some strange things out there. I've seen some weird breaks and structures and stuff like that.
Which we will be showing.
But one night I was out in Ocala National Forest with some friends of mine, and at 1:30 in the morning, coldest night of the year, me and a couple people heard this incredibly long, loud vocalization.
Oh my.
And
really?
It was just unbelievable, and that's what did it for me. That's what really got me hooked. I'm like, oh yeah, holy crap, this is real.
There's something there.
There's something out there.
We put such emphasis on our eyes, but you know what? The ears are kind of important too. And if we've spent enough time in the woods, we can recognize things and understand a coyote versus a bear versus whatever we might hear. But then if there's something out there that just doesn't sound right,
It was what most people would probably consider like the classic Ohio Bigfoot call. It's just very long. It takes incredible lung capacity to be able to make a sound that loud and for that long. And it was about at least a half mile, quarter mile away, I would guess. But it was unbelievable. And that's what did it for me.
And that's what started you.
That started me.
So I know you were probably super young and maybe not remember. Do you remember watching the 1975 movie? The documentary?
When it went to the theaters.
The Legend of Bigfoot?
Yep.
Scared the bejesus out of me.
Really?
Yep.
It's called 1975?
No, it's called The Legend of Bigfoot. It was 1970. It was one of the first.
It was the first documentary film.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, about anything really that wasn't on TV.
Yep.
That was about paranormal investigation, and it came out at the time when we were just like going through watching The Exorcist and Amityville Horror, and all this stuff was bringing it up. But then that also brought up, of course, the famous Bigfoot film.
Yeah, because they talked about
this thing.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Really hit hard.
They talked because they brought in some of the Patterson Gimlin film.
Right.
Right. So and there was two. There was Curse of the Bigfoot and then Legend of Bigfoot, and they're kind of about the same year, 1975. I watched that for the first time.
Okay.
My mom and dad couldn't get me in the woods because I'm sitting there going, things make sense now.
Right.
Because at that point in time, we were in Mississippi. I was an Army brat, so we moved around a lot. But we were in rural Mississippi, and we would go back there, and it was a great place. We used to go deer hunting and boar hunting and all that kind of stuff. And we're like, sometimes we'd be out there and could not understand what we were hearing.
Correct.
Right. And I know what the sound of a stag hitting a wood tree. I understand those sounds, and I understand boar hitting and stuff like that. But I couldn't. But anyway, I digress. So you started going out. So did you start paranormal first?
Yes.
Paranormal first.
Okay. What kind of paranormal investigating were you doing?
What?
And how were you doing it?
Ghost hunting.
Yeah.
Ghost hunting. Okay.
Yeah, ghost hunting.
And how long ago was that?
Well, 30 years ago. So I still
you were
ghost
a
hunt
baby.
if I can.
So it was the 90s. Okay.
Yeah.
And and you had your confirming events with that that kind of cemented it for you? Okay.
Yes. I've experienced just about every conceivable ghostly thing that you can imagine.
Did you ever see one float? Or a person go.
I've seen a shadow figure.
That'd go.
I've seen several shadow figures. Everything being touched. Someone's talking to you right here. I've seen orbs. All kinds of stuff. Almost every possible.
So that really opened your mind to what could be out there. And then you say UFOs came up on your radar?
Yes.
I mean, pun intended.
Yes.
Because they never come up on radar.
Right. Exactly.
Yes.
But and what happened there?
So I would go out and do sky watches at night with some friends, and I've had 2 UFO sightings, and which were incredible. But I love watching the night sky, because if you're out there looking at the sky, pretty frequently you could see some unusual things. And we're not talking satellites.
Right.
You know, we know what planets look like, stars look like, and we know what the satellites look like, but it's the really unusual stuff that I've experienced.
Okay.
So then when my friends were into Bigfoot, I'm like, let me go check this out. Yeah.
Bigfoot ain't real.
And
bears.
so the noise, the vocalization in Ocala National Forest, yeah, that did it for me. That got me hooked.
That got you hooked.
That got me hooked. And I'm a city girl. I never went out in the woods growing up. Nothing.
Yep.
So then I started going out by myself and doing,
By yourself?
taking pictures
you
and
are
stuff
brave,
like
girl.
that, checking things out. And then I wanted to do something with that information, the photos and stuff. So I started posting it on my personal Facebook page.
Okay.
Right.
And but I had like 3 Bigfoot friends, so that wasn't the right place to post that stuff.
Right.
So then I started looking on Facebook for some kind of Florida research group or something that I could join so I could share my findings.
Yeah.
Couldn't find anything at the time.
Oh,
So
wow.
it was then and there I decided, you know what, I'm just going to do this.
Nice.
And so I
Oh,
called
yeah.
the Mid-Florida Bigfoot Research Group, and we're all about research.
You know what they say? See a need, fill a need.
They say that?
They say that.
I've never heard that before, but I like it.
Yeah. No, that was Disney.
it's
It
been-
wasn't me.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'd love
It
to take
wasn't
credit
me.
for it. So now you've been about 25 years, or is it about still almost close to 30 years?
30 years for paranormal.
Paranormal, but how long
Paranormal.
for
Bigfooting.
But for
Sasquatchian?
Bigfoot,
Yeah.
about 4 years.
4 years.
I've been doing
Okay.
About 4 years.
All right.
And we go out every weekend.
You should follow
Every
her,
weekend.
her post every weekend.
Cool.
I'm like,
Definitely
they
going
went
to
out
friend you on
again.
Facebook.
They went out again. She really does go out every weekend.
If
So-
I go out with my team, or if nobody can go out, I'll go by myself, or someone else will.
Mm-hmm.
So there's always a team member or team out every single weekend.
And the fact is, that is the only scientific way to approach this, is to actually have a standard methodology for when you investigate, how you investigate, where you investigate,
Right.
and continue to repeat the pattern. Because if you can do that, then you may be able to even establish a seasonal pattern of some sort, some kind of schedule of sightings. And you can only do that if you are being regular. And with most sightings being one-off, I was out and I saw this, that kind of thing, you aren't going to get the regularity that you need in order to get any kind of predictability, which is the first thing that makes that moves it from paranormal into normal is predictability. And the ability to predict some kind of behavior, some kind of pattern. With geese, you can say, gee, do geese exist? Well, they fly over twice a year. Okay, I see them fly over. And you have a migration pattern. So have you noticed anything akin to that?
Oh, you literally took my question. Golly gee willikers, Anthony, you get out of my brain, dude.
I'm sorry, rewind.
Do they migrate?
Yeah.
I'm going to put it dumb. Do they migrate?
I personally don't think they migrate. They don't need to here in Florida.
Okay.
They got the weather is, year round. They have
True.
a year round food source,
So
food supply.
Well, if you're going to retire,
that
retire
would
in
be
Florida, right?
the Florida strain,
But-
because we do have how many different kinds of large bipedal creatures do you think are tracking around North America? What would you say?
Oh, different kinds.
Yeah.
A lot of these states have their own names
Of course.
for these cryptids and
Sure.
stuff like that, which, I think the majority of them are Bigfoots, but they call them like the Ohio grassman.
Right, but
so they all
our-
have multiple names, but I think it's basically almost the same creature. But in Florida, we tend to think that there's 2
Okay.
in Florida.
What do you think is what are the delineating features?
Well, it seems like, and this is based upon like our research and the reports that we've read or been told.
Right.
So if you take basically Central Florida, like say Tampa, and you and up north, so North Florida down to the Tampa, Central Florida area, the reports are the typical 6 to 9 foot tall, big creature, you know, covered with, usually it's like cinnamon red, reddish brown color hair, and with 5 toes.
Okay.
Okay. Now, when you go south of Tampa, like starting around Mayaca and down to the Everglades, the descriptions change.
That's what I'm wondering.
The creature that seems to be spotted in those areas, they're smaller, usually 5 to 7 feet tall, skinnier, less hair, and 4 toes.
4 toes.
See, that actually makes sense from a zoological perspective because the foliage down there is much more dense. Take, for example, the deer we get around here, typically 60, 70 pounds, okay, for an adult. But you look at, you know, the Key West deer, plural, okay, they're like 30 pounds.
Correct.
Because of the density of the brush. So you would have a smaller, thinner, the 4 toes,
right,
without a sign of an opposing digit. That's extraordinary.
So it goes from this
to
that.
Yes. And that's a toad. Are there any other quad-toed, I don't want to say mammal, I want to say, what's the word I'm looking for? This is really funny. Humanoids. That's it. Humanoids. I know. I'm sorry. Yes. Are there any other 4-toed
creatures?
Apes, simians, anything of that nature that you're aware of?
Not that I'm aware of. Not aware of.
So this would be really new.
You know, but so the size, you know, I keep talking about the size of the skunk apes. And, you know, like I said, they're thinner, they're scrawnier.
Right.
But that makes sense because down south, it's hot.
Yeah.
And a large creature that's 900 pounds, you know, full of muscles and stuff like that, they could never survive in the humidity and the heat.
They would.
So through probably evolution, it has, you know, turned into a smaller creature, just like the deer, the key deer.
Well,
you know, they're itty bitty.
If you want to look at it in the human world, you have American Indians in the Southwest. They're thinner, taller.
Correct.
And then you go to the American Indians that are in the Alaska side. They're shorter, heavier, because of the cold weather, and they need the heat.
They need the heat and the fat. They need to be able to, the insulation.
Okay, so I have a question.
Yes.
And you guys actually, I think it was your group that talked about this. So in Florida, there's one sect that says stop calling them skunk apes and call them, it's either Bigfoot, Sasquatch, and there was another name that was, and then there's the other ones that they need to be called skunk apes because it describes their smell, the whole thing. Which side are you on?
I'm on the skunk ape side.
Skunk ape side, right?
Yeah.
Because they have that. I mean, they all have. From what I understand, what I watch, and again, I watch a lot of this. I watch it all. You know, they have an odor.
Yes.
But I've heard that the Florida skunk ape has an odor that you can tell the difference. Right.
Yes. So I just hosted a meeting down in the Everglades with David Shealy. And we had Dusty Crum. He is a python hunter.
Oh, okay.
And he spoke, about catching pythons, how he does it, blah, blah, blah. And then he said he's never had a skunk ape sighting, but he has smelled one.
Oh.
And he said it was like running into a brick wall.
It just hit you.
He says it just hit him.
A brick wall of stink.
It just stunk like rotten eggs, like something that was just so nauseating. It was just so horrible. And he knew that was something different.
Okay.
It's different than anything he's ever experienced out there in the Everglades while python hunting. And then we had Betty Osceola, and she is a Miccosukee tribal member, and she's a Everglades activist and stuff like that.
Okay, right.
And so she talked about her personal sighting of a skunk ape.
Oh.
Yeah. So, the more people you talk to down south, the more stories you hear about the skunk ape. But I have never had a sighting yet, but I'm hoping that I will at some point.
Someday.
And that's why I'm out every week. Trying to increase my odds of seeing something.
So do the South Florida skunk apes, they kind of stop above Lake Okeechobee?
Like around Myakka.
Myakka
State Park.
Where's Myakka?
Area. Sarasota.
Okay. Got it. Yeah, sometimes I don't get big words.
Yeah.
Big words.
Sarasota down.
Right.
It tends to change. And that's because the tropical line, it starts around Sarasota.
Sarasota world, right.
And it's hot. Myakka's very hot.
Yeah, we tried to go down there. We were doing a shoot a couple years back in Sarasota, and it was in August, and
it's miserable.
I told her, I'm going to give you your money back.
It's miserable.
I can't do this.
It's hot.
It's just ridiculous.
I will only go to Myakka in the wintertime.
My cameras were overheating.
Oh boy.
So I'm like, dude, I can't do this. I don't know who I'm not, and I'll do anything for $1 pretty much. And I'm like, yeah, this is not working for me. That is amazing. And then so once you get past Myakka and you start coming up all the way into the Panhandle, they get bigger, brawnier.
Yes.
Heavier coat.
Yes. So that's where the you had the Stacy Brown thermal footage.
Yeah.
That was in North Florida. And that clearly shows a huge creature.
Yes.
Talking about?
Yeah, I actually just sent the still image. The video's in the feed, but I also just sent a still image to Rob a little bit ago.
Time to go to that. Because I want to show some of the stuff that now we get you send us some image. First of all, let's talk about your proud team, right?
Yes.
So I've got their team up behind me. Rob will put it up so you guys can actually see it. So tell me who's in here. I know the beautiful lady on the right. Yes. I know who she is, but who are these other two?
So behind me is Mike Aguilar.
Okay.
And then next to him is Chris Hensley.
Is that with the hat on forwards or backwards?
Forward.
Forward, okay.
And then the lovely lady next to me is Ruby Jo Brew. And that's my research team.
Okay. Now you guys are the ones that are out there pretty much every weekend.
Every weekend.
Mm-hmm.
What color fur are we looking at for the skunk apes?
There's different descriptions. They're either like a reddish brown or sometimes black.
Okay.
But from a distance and they're wet, that could look cinnamon.
Yeah, reddish brown will look black, of course.
And almost black. If they're wet, they probably look more. More
and
black.
in Florida, you want to be wet. You don't want to be dry. It's
okay, because interestingly enough, the orangutan footprint, okay, shows 4 toes, but then there's one way back.
Correct.
And depending upon how they're walking and the way they're moving, you may or may not see the
you may
thumb.
miss that.
Okay,
Correct.
and it's on the foot, but it's the thumb toe, and so it's the big toe that gives the counterbalance. So you may not see it, and so it's not unheard of to have that kind of a footprint in the simian,
world.
Yeah, I'm going crazy here. Hominid world.
And I'm the ones who've had strokes. He can't remember. That's pretty funny. So speaking of footprints, so I'm going to show this real quick right here. This is a 14-inch by 6-inch. All right. So Rob will, if you can just take my feed, Rob, that's fine. So you look at now. I see it, but people are like, well, I don't see it. So what we did is we did this. There it is. That is a huge foot.
Yeah.
That is a big foot.
Yeah. Ta-da. Ding, ding.
I'm here all
But that is massive.
Yes.
Massive. And I know I've got a couple other over here. I'm trying to jump to them. So let's talk about how you do that. So one of the things you do is, because I ask her, what tools do you bring and stuff like that? And she goes, measuring tape. Is it plaster Paris?
Plaster of Paris or dental plaster.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there is some gentleman's. I was going to make fun. I was like, man, honey, you need a pedicure, but it's not. This ain't your foot. I know it ain't your foot, but That's huge.
Yes.
That's massive.
Yes.
I mean,
That's a grown man's feet right there. And look at the size of those. That's a matching pair.
That's Shaquille O'Neal.
Shaquille, he's running around in the woods. Good Lord, Shaquille, stop that.
Put your shoes back on.
We just lost the light. I don't know
Oh
why
boy,
that
you know
happened.
what? You know what caused that?
Ghost.
Yep, we're
I'm
talking
gonna
about
run
the
and go get a
paranormal.
battery while.
Right. While I continue to interview in the dark. So I'm just looking up stuff here while we're all talking because that's what I love to do. In looking at the thermal imagery from the North Florida group, that was like 2012, 2013, somewhere back in there.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it was a few years ago, but the quality of the footage is pretty good.
Oh, it's excellent.
The issue I have with it, and this is funny, is the hands look all wrong. It looks like the guy's carrying 2 lunchboxes, whoever it is. Now, that to me leads us into a fascinating sort of conversation about evolution. Mm-hmm. Because, first of all, if you're going to fake Bigfoot, you're going to do your costume as close as you can to what's already out there on the market. Mm-hmm. And so coming out with something that has these gigantic looking hands is something nobody would do because it just looks completely wrong.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. And so that actually is a point in its favor. Now, are they smart enough to go, if I do this wrong, then they'll think that this is a point in my favor. Nah, whatever. But when I look at this image, I do see something huge. I see something, caught on night vision camera. And the fact that the hands have evolved so differently leads us now into thinking, okay, so maybe feet have evolved so differently, and it's okay that another cross, offshoot could have that different design for the feet based on the terrain, because that is exactly how simians have evolved in all other continents. Is they all have incredibly unique foot patterns and grip patterns.
Speaking of foot patterns, so here's another one so here is now this is the actual casting of this one as well. So if you can't see it,
that's 2 different things.
That's right. One was one, and then they found the match.
So the cast you see there on the left, that is one that Ruby and I casted last May or June last year. Mm-hmm. So it looks like it's a big bunion, right? So the one on the right is a print that we found 5 months later.
And let me show you that
one. And it looks almost identical to the cast.
This one's in here.
Like
if that's your
same
cast,
individual.
Hold on. If that's your cast, I have to ask, shouldn't it be reversed compared to the one you're showing the photo of? Okay, so you're actually flipping it over to see the bottom? So is the one on the left not a right foot?
Yes.
Okay, and then the one on the right next to the boot is a left foot.
Yes.
Okay, so there's 2 different feet.
Yes.
But that jutting out of the ball of the foot, that is extraordinary that both of them reflect, footprints reflect that.
Well, typically in your feet, if you've got they'll match interior wise.
I have footprints just like that. My own feet do that now because of the way I wore dress shoes for so long.
Right.
Okay. So yes, it would be normal for both feet to evolve that way. Now mine evolved that way, I think, because of the shoes I was wearing. Okay, for so many years.
And these prints were found probably about within 5 miles of each other, but the same area.
Yeah, it is very likely that is the same.
These parks are like all connected together like a corridor. Yeah. And so it's probably the same individual.
Right.
It just looks too similar.
Exactly.
It looks too similar.
Yeah, and to get a left and a right like that is just now. Did you get a chance to cast the other foot?
No.
Oh, that's
so let's stay in the casting world, because I've always been curious about this. I went and got drywall mud. Because someone said you could use the powder, you add the water. Blah, blah.
Okay.
So I was in the backyard and I was doing stuff, and just to see it, and it doesn't work.
We've used the spray foam
The spray
Like
foam will work.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That what you use to insulate windows
as long
and stuff? We've used that
as long as it
before.
only expands in one direction, because if it expands outward, it's going to blow out your footprint.
We experimented with different ones.
So you figured
we
out how to
found
do it.
one that's perfect.
That worked.
Excellent.
And you bring a board.
Yeah.
And
Set it on
you
top,
Set it
pick it
on
up when
top.
it's
You
done.
have to put like a rock on it to help
Sure.
weight to
Yeah.
keep it down. And then after a few minutes, you just pull it up. It's super light. It looks exactly like a plaster cast.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you heard
it's
it
easier
here,
to
and you
carry
learned how to
around.
do it yourself now.
Yeah.
So
Well, you don't know which one, so you got to go out and
I'm gonna let
experiment
her
with all the
explain
different
it, 'cause-
foams as well.
Okay, so the image we're getting ready to show, I thought this was the top side of the foot, right? So go ahead, Rob, and show that. So I thought, oh, look, they showed the top of it, what it's supposed to look like when it's in the ground, and that's the underneath that is self-left. She says, no. And then when she, go ahead, explain.
All right.
'cause
What is that on the left?
On the
She's going to
left,
tell you. This is kind of cool, dude.
what you're seeing is the top of what we poured. Okay, that's the top of the cast.
Okay.
So Mike, I think he was trying to cast maybe like what he thought was a hand print or a knuckle print or something, and it came out crappy. But anyway, he poured it, and then he walked away for like 45 minutes, and he came back to collect it, and there's finger drags. And there's actually...
Oh, yeah.
And there's
No, I was wondering
actually
what had done
finger-
that. Who dug that into it?
Yeah, because I could put my fingers in there and it's bigger than my fingers. It looks like something came along and was like, huh,
It
what's
was
this white
experimenting.
stuff?
What is this?
And just did a finger drag, but there's also two little fingerprints. See the little round indentions?
There's three of them.
Something
There's
like
three of them.
this.
Two at the top and one down at the bottom on the right.
Yes.
I see three.
And so they just like checked it out, like, what's this white stuff?
Whoa.
Yeah, but it looks like a finger drag.
Yeah, oh, it looks like, somebody was,
Yes.
or something was
checking
experimenting.
it out.
Now, I can honestly say I know of no mammal that I can think of even close that
No.
would be able to do that. I'm trying to think of birds because you will have an ibis that will go along, and the ibis were famous in ancient Egypt. The reason Jehote was associated with them was because it looked like they were writing with their beaks, and Jehote is the god of writing,
Right.
and so he's the ibis-headed god. And so now you see this, and it's like, okay, so they can do that, but they certainly weren't. Those are like the beaks on, I don't know, an emu or something.
But they're bigger
dodo.
than my fingers.
Yeah,
They're wider than
yeah,
my fingers.
One of
exactly.
them looked like you could put your two fingers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
'cause-
yeah,
Yeah,
they're
I didn't
big.
send that picture,
Yeah,
but
those
I had
are
my
big.
finger in there, and
Yeah,
it
those
was bigger
are
than my
big,
fingers.
no doubt about it. That's what I'm saying. It'd be like a dodo did that,
Very
Except for
weird.
those are extinct too.
And
So
see, here's a picture of her with her and
her in the group. Ta-da!
Yes, that was us in the Everglades with David Shealy doing skunk ape research on a swamp buggy.
freaking awesome.
Cool.
Freaking awesome.
Yes.
Here's, I think I got another one that you showed us too.
Yes.
Yeah, see, that you're right. Hot summer.
Hot. Yes, and that's February, okay?
Yeah,
And that's
no.
when we went out there to do the reenactment of David Shealy's skunk ape video, which
And
is what we're working
so
on now.
she's got a video. I think Rob's going to play it, but I'm going to bring it up for us.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and play the audio and everything, Rob, because this is kind of cool, and then we'll come back afterwards, so that way we can.
When you guys are side by side.
Yeah.
Here in the green swamp.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Now.
Ruby
Cool.
just found this great.
So there's now that's the deer carcass, right?
Yes, we found Ruby found a deer carcass on the edge of a swamp in the green
Right.
swamp, and off about 5 feet over to the right were 3 bones shoved in the ground,
Stuck in the ground.
Like straight in.
straight in.
Okay, that's not normal.
You see, she's pulling it
Yeah.
out of the ground. Those are
No, that
standing
is-
straight up. In the picture, it looks like they're laying down, but they're standing straight up. So it's almost like something sat there, ate the deer, and just
shoved the bone in the
reached
ground.
over it, like eating chicken wings or something.
Yeah, but just like shove the
Sticking
bone in the ground.
Yes. While they're sitting there eating, they're just shoving
My
the bones in the
goodness.
ground. Those are standing straight up,
Yes.
and they're shoved in the ground. There's no explanation for that.
Absolutely not.
If the animal died
No,
naturally, the bones
would be
there.
scattered. If
Yes.
coyote came along, any kind of scavenger, the bones would be scattered. Nothing would sit there and put 3 bones. Finding 1 bone in the ground, great. Something dropped it. It was a
Right.
weird fluke.
Right.
Finding 3 in a little triangle like that, that's pretty intense. That is
pretty
pretty
intense, isn't it?
intense.
Yes.
Yes.
There you go.
Very interesting.
And then you found, okay, this is what so I'm going to show you the first picture
Okay.
that she sent me, right? First, I'm like, what is she showing me? I don't
Right.
get it. And there's even a circle there. I'm like, okay, I kind of don't get it. But
Your typical cypress stumps. So what are we missing?
that's what she's showing.
Show me.
It's an egg.
An egg, a chicken egg, has been mounted on top of a cypress knee.
Okay. Was a chicken egg.
Chicken egg.
Okay, how far are you from any kind of civilization? Farm?
We're not that far away. There's actually, in this area, there's a chicken coop that's
Okay.
at least 100 yards away.
Okay. I am going to tell you that we have chickens. Okay, and one of the things we have, and this is really mind-boggling, large crows and ravens will pick up the eggs whole and take them away. But I've never seen them, do a balancing act with it.
Sticking up.
Okay.
And
Now,
what I
was the
didn't
egg
tell
cracked?
you- no, I mean, no.
The whole
It was
egg?
not cracked. It was just, eaten, broken,
Okay.
and shoved on top of the cypress
So the hole
knee.
was open and then it was set on
It was
top,
set on
empty.
top.
Now,
But what you
go ahead,
also need to
'cause I got more
know,
questions.
that's our gifting area
What do you mean?
where we leave out gifts for Bigfoot.
Okay.
Yes.
So okay. If you take an egg and you're flying along with it and you drop it and it happens to land, like, you're a big crow and it happens to land right there, it's going to go crack and the egg is all going to leak out and you're going to have an empty eggshell sitting on top of a pedestal.
It's going to bounce off a cypress.
No, it won't bounce. It'll go punk right onto it and crack and go right up and in.
Okay.
That is that's like a 1 in a million shot, but it is a potential explanation for why you might find that. Knowing, but you got to balance that with Occam's razor and say, how much other activity do you have in that area?
Right.
And say, is that level of activity justifying a different explanation than a raven playing, bombardier with an egg, trying to land it on top of a cypress stump.
Right. And this is also that same area spot
Yep.
is where the big footprints were found. Have been found
Okay.
in the past.
Does add up now.
So we got footprints, we have a gifting area, and then we have this weird chicken egg that is mounted
Yes.
on top of a cypress
Yep.
knee.
Which is,
show
I do
that
that all the
picture.
time. I go out with chicken eggs and just
Yes,
like,
I know
put them
you
out,
do. I know. Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's
it's my
me.
thing.
You could see the chicken egg right there.
That is amazing because it looks like it's kind of got.
Is there any way we can zoom in on that a little bit more?
We can actually.
Actually, yeah, I got a good image back here too. But that is on the side.
That's on the
if
side.
That dropped, okay, it would had to have been a lot more straight up than to have hit
No,
like
that would have hit that
Right.
top that notch right up there.
And did you see any egg down the side at all?
No, nothing.
Okay, what time of year was this that you found this?
We just found that, let's see, we're March, January? February?
Okay,
Like
I'm going to
2
ask
months
you, if you can pull the date and tell me if it had been raining any time in that time.
No, it hadn't.
Okay, if it's been pretty dry,
Yes, very
and the
dry.
ground does look very dry, then odds are if there were egg there that had run down the stump, you would have found the egg still there because it would have taken a very heavy rain to wash that off.
Right.
Yes.
So, yeah. And if any animal had come up and licked it off, they would have taken the egg as well.
Correct.
That's so cool.
Correct. So it's very
Yeah.
cool.
That's
find.
very
It
cool.
is definitely looking more and more like, somebody saying, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you for leaving us
for the
gifts.
egg.
Yes.
Exactly.
But so now we're going to get into because we were talking. She'd been here a little bit. I always ask I ask this question is how do you know an area is? I'm going to take one of Bobo's
Squatchy. Yes.
How do you know it's squatchy?
We just have feelings about these areas. We like areas that are dark, gnarly, thick. Places where we think, if I was a Bigfoot or a skunk ape, yeah, I'd hang in there for sure.
Right.
It's that kind of thing. Mike Aguilar, he's very sensitive. He's very good at finding very unusual spots for us. He'll get feelings about places. He has been hit by infrasound twice while we've been doing research, and so he's very good at that kind of thing. But just driving around, we're like, ooh, look at that spot. That looks nice, dark, and creepy.
Right.
That looks like, if I was a Bigfoot, where I would hang in.
Is it something hard for us to get into, but easy for them to get into?
Correct.
Because they can manipulate better than we can. That's awesome.
And we'll want to go check, look around, see if we see anything unusual, find prints or structures or whatever.
Oh, speaking of structures, I'm glad you said that word.
Yes.
I want to bring up something here, and maybe you're doing it, maybe you're not, but the new apps on the more advanced phones have LiDAR.
Yes.
Are you doing that? Because I can 3D print from a LiDAR image.
Yeah, I have not yet. I don't have it. I think it's on the Apple.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't have an Apple phone.
I can do that.
But yes.
All the more reason that I need to
and
start
I've got
going
the
out
3D
with you.
printers.
Yes,
hunting.
exactly. So that would be perfect. Then you wouldn't even have to have casting materials. You can
No,
just
I can
3D.
LiDAR it. I can give you the full image, and then I can also go home and 3D print it if you want.
That's awesome. That's
awesome.
beautiful.
Yes.
That's beautiful.
So yeah, that would be fun.
Now we're
Very-
going to talk structures.
Very knowledgeable. Yeah, that's very handy.
Structures.
Structure.
What? No, they just wander around. They never stop and live anywhere.
Yeah, well, yeah. So
Why would they do that? That would leave evidence.
yeah, this picture
But
here
wait,
is
evidence?
me in the
Okay.
Ocala National Forest. And this was just a weird collection of, there were two trees that were broken off at the same height that were about 6-7 feet away from each other.
Okay.
And then there's all these X's and these arches. The thing looked like a wall. That's what it just reminded me of. And there was building materials everywhere. Like something that was just been assembling things. Now that's gone. That's been taken down. That no longer exists.
Really?
Yes.
But who took it down?
Don't know.
Well, so if that makes you go, yeah, a tree
Right.
fell over, blah, blah, blah,
Yes.
right? But then this one right here,
Yes. Now this one.
yeah, that one's not one that's just been,
Yeah, that is a cypress tree that has been bent over. That tree is about 15, 20 feet away from the fallen tree. So how did a cypress tree get secured underneath that log, that dead tree? Cypress trees are not very branchy.
I know what
They're
it is.
very thin.
It's a wedding hoop.
Is that what it is?
It's a wedding
Okay.
hoop. It's a mating hoop. They got married.
Yeah, so that one is very
So you
unusual.
hit, you get squatched. Yes.
Yeah.
I am intrigued by that because I'm trying to go through, having taken down a lot of trees in my day and seen them fall a lot of weird ways. I am really hard pressed to figure out how that tree coming from
Right.
15 feet and that's at the vertical. You have to go diagonally. That stump is probably, if I'd have to say at least 20 feet away.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
for it to fall down, somehow catch that tree
How?
under its
Yeah.
trunk, not in its branches, under its trunk, and pull it down when that tree obviously had to have been growing perfectly straight because the arch in it is perfect.
Yes.
And so if that tree had been over to the side, you would have had this.
Right.
You would have had a funky arc kind of thing.
Right.
But instead, you have that perfect pull down.
And it's secured
That's-
underneath the dead log, that dead tree that's sitting on the
and
ground. It's
was it
secured
just-
underneath it.
Basically, the end of it was under it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So how did that tree falling down 15, 20 feet away?
Yes.
How did it take down the tree way over there?
Exactly.
With it?
Pull it down, and
You can see
that
there's like
is-
no branches on that tree. It's a
No,
cypress
that is
tree.
another intriguing element. The complete lack of branches on the cypress, on a small cypress like that, and it was cypress. It wasn't cedar. Okay, just
You
checking.
can see that cypress right
Yeah.
there. Base of that.
That is pretty intense because
So-
that is
Now we've got another structure.
Okay, now what do we got?
Yeah, there's actually two.
Show me. This is what I love. Oh, that's a lean-to.
Yeah, that's underneath. That's sleeping quarters right there.
That's
Yeah.
a lean-to.
Or that's the honeymoon suite.
So
Just saying.
that looks like some kind of shelter blind thing.
Right.
Now, what's interesting about this is those branches are from a maple tree.
Oh, that's right, because it's the
So they're imported.
bark.
They were imported there, okay? Now, Mike and Chris, they were able to find the originating tree of those branches, which was at least like 100 yards away somewhere. So somehow, these maple tree branches were drug over to this spot and piled up.
Okay, so another question for you. How far are you from any kind of body of water there?
Well, it's a swamp.
Okay, no moving water, no rushing water, nothing of that nature. Okay, because I want to rule out beavers. Okay, dragging branches, they will do some weird stuff.
Yeah, but not
We
on
don't
land.
have-
But not across land. Well, on the edge of land, but they might. Okay,
I understand what you're saying.
but that's why I was asking about how close we might be to running
And this
water.
is not too far from the gifting area.
That's pretty cool, dude.
That one
With the egg.
also has me. Yes.
Perplexed.
So it's a bed and breakfast. Okay, now I get it. No,
So
that
now-
is.
Now we've got a couple
And I
more.
actually got in it. I actually
Oh, you were able to get in
Yeah,
it?
I was able to get in it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to show this. I'm not trying to skip, but I'm trying to make sure that we get these into
Yes.
the show.
Yes.
So I have a. So now
Okay, so the one on the right, that's another view of that what we just
Of
looked
the one
at.
you
Okay.
just saw. Yeah, I thought it looked
Right.
familiar. Okay.
So that's like the closed off view.
Uh-huh.
And then you had the opening, which is what we just looked at, where something could definitely get in there,
right.
which is what I did. I
what-
got in there.
What time of year did you find it?
Same time of the egg. A month and a half ago,
Okay,
2
so
months ago.
so this is like really recent
Very
stuff.
recent.
Okay, and so that may have been made back when those trees had branches and so on and so forth, or leaves.
Yeah,
and
they
so
did.
it would have been
That's
an
why we knew it was
actual
maple.
cover. Okay.
Yeah.
And now it's just thinned out because the leaves are gone.
Okay, so the one in the middle
Yes.
is a triangular structure
Teepee.
that we
It's a
found
tripod.
in the Withlacoochee forest.
Okay.
We were out there with Mike Familant. He is he does the shadow of the big red eye, and he came down from Florida, and we went out with him. This was found near a gut pile. We found a pile of guts, big guts on the ground. So it was super smelly, and then we found that little teepee structure.
Right.
Okay. So
Let's go back to the log. I'm interested in the.
yeah,
is
the
that
third
a
one.
The log one is cool. The other one, the one on the left, is a log where all these branches were just laid next to each other across it.
Okay.
Okay. And then now I've got this one. Oh, here you go.
Yes. So the one on the right is what looks like an asterisk structure. That's something that I started noticing last year are these little asterisk structures. So in Florida, we don't, if you have someone from the Pacific Northwest trying to come to Florida, do
Right.
Bigfoot research, they're expecting what they find in the Pacific Northwest, the big structures, big branches, logs, etc. We don't have those kind of building materials. What we have here are palm fronds.
Right.
Yes.
We have, scrawny, oak
Yeah.
trees that are very brittle. We have some pine trees.
Well, we also have,
So-
honestly, compared to the Pacific Northwest, there is a lot less use for structure down here. Okay, because A, you're not going to get out of the heat. B, you're not going to get out of the bugs. C, you're not going to get out of the rain, which doesn't rain at night, so that's not an issue if you're bedding down.
Right.
And so there's almost no use for any serious structure here like you'd need in the Pacific Northwest.
Except you need cover, like maybe if you are hunting for deer or something. You want to hide because it's so
You
out
want to
in the
make a
open.
blind.
You need to make a
Yes.
blind so you can kind of hide in there and then
Yes.
jump out and chase something. In that area, definitely has a lot of deer. We have a lot of deer in
And
there.
then this,
Have you found a lot of deer carcass in that area?
No, I've seen live deer, lots of live deer.
Okay.
Okay, so this is very interesting. I found this in the Everglades 2 years ago. And I was just walking along this dirt path, and, the Everglades is full of water, okay?
Yep.
So, where would a skunk ape or a Florida panther even, where would they sleep at night? They'd be sleeping up in a tree. So I found this collection of vines. It almost looks like a hammock. It's huge. It was at least 10, 12 feet long and about 8 foot wide. That's made of like hundreds of vines. That's just what it looked like to us.
Right.
We're like, what the heck is that?
huh?
That
Yeah.
collection. We didn't see that anywhere else.
Okay, because
Is
I
that
think
something normal?
I think
It
I've seen
could be
vines grow
be
like that
normal out
really
there.
heavily. Okay, I think I've seen vines grow like that really heavily, and then in the off season, okay, you don't notice because in when they're in bloom, you just see this wall of green, and when you take the leaves away, you have this mass of vines like that.
Right.
And so it could be natural. That doesn't mean that they
Yes.
wouldn't use something like that,
That's the-
or coordinate it better, or, whatever for their own uses. But I don't think. Now, where was that?
In the
Everglades,
In the Everglades, okay.
where the animals, if they're trying to find a dry place to
Yeah.
sleep at night, it's going to be up in a tree somewhere.
That's
Yeah, if it's that water on the ground, then that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now go back to the other.
oh, okay. Sorry.
We didn't.
This one right here.
Yes, that one.
Okay.
Okay, so that is what we've been finding lately. I noticed that I'm starting to find these structures. I call them asterisk structures. And that's next to a body of water. You can see the stream,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? What's interesting about that, it was perfectly balanced. You could touch it and it would teeter.
Oh,
It's this collection of sticks that have just been arranged like a star pattern, an
Right.
asterisk pattern. Pretty amazing. And we found multiples of those.
yeah. Because I was looking at the other one. She's got another one here. Is that's an asterisk? Nope.
No.
That's something I found in Mayaca.
Oh. Well, all right.
Okay.
That's kind of cool.
Yes, that is a very small, like, teepee structure. And some people would be
Yeah, that's
like,
tiny,
oh, somebody's
yeah.
trying to start a fire.
Yeah.
Not out there, not where that's at, most likely. And who wants to start a fire in July?
Right.
But
Somebody wants to cook.
it was like I walked past it, and I'm like, wait a minute. And I walked back, I'm like, oh my God. Now, what's really cool about that is I have a fellow researcher that I talk to all the time in Minnesota. His name's Paul Guffey. He has found the exact same thing in Minnesota.
Really?
So it's a
And he sent me
snowbird.
pictures. He sent me pictures of it.
Snow squatch.
Snow squatch. Yes. Come down for
Can't
the.
call him a bird anymore.
So, it's interesting when you have
Yeah,
two
wouldn't that
different,
be a Yeti?
you're finding the same thing
Yeah.
across the United States.
Yep. That's cool. I mean, that's super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is. If we are looking at 2, maybe 3 basic species, then this kind of behavior traveling over great lengths is not unheard of, is not abnormal and unexpected if you're dealing with the same species. And if we are looking at all of the basic Sasquatch kind of creatures as one species, as opposed to the skunk ape, being the smaller, more wiry, really stinky cousin, then we're looking at a hell of a migration pattern as well. But they've had centuries to do this. How old are the oldest references that we have to squatches?
Probably going back to the 1800s, but I'm sure the Native American history goes back way
They go
further
way
than
Well,
that.
sure, yeah.
Hundreds of years.
Especially on the West Coast.
Yes, especially on the West Coast.
So we only got a minute and a half left, and I
Yeah.
want to talk about this picture I've got up right now. Someone had to carry somebody's ruck pack.
Yes, yes. So at Phenomenon in Vernal, Utah, Russell Accord actually on the show, Expedition Bigfoot, he has 2 different backpacks. His lightest one is 50 pounds. The largest one is 92 pounds. And that's what I'm carrying. I volunteered to carry it around. I had to carry it around the entire audience.
Oh, my.
Yeah, so that's what I did. And I thank God I didn't fall. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And because 92 pounds.
You would have been right there. I've fallen and I can't get up.
92 pounds for someone my size.
Yeah, that
that's
would have
a
been
lot of weight.
Yes.
But I did it. And
So my last
Congratulations.
question, because we've only got a minute left.
yes.
And this is not something to be in a minute. How was Skinwalker Ranch?
Loved it.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah.
You've been to Skinwalker Ranch?
yeah.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Well, I've been to the gate and stuff. But yeah, when you go to that conference, you meet all the people from Skinwalker Ranch.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice.
They're doing it again.
Yes, they're doing it again. I hope to be there.
We need to be there.
We need to, we got to
It's
see what we
great.
can
I'm
do.
just saying.
It's great.
I may have to go GoFundMe for the
It's
NerdQuest
such a
team to
great,
go out there.
great little city.
That's what we do.
It's like a very
Cool.
dinosaur. There's all kinds of dinosaur fossils and bones and everything there. Then you got all the paranormal stuff that goes on with Skinwalker Ranch and Blind Frog Ranch.
I want to go to all 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
it's a great conference.
Marie, thank you so much for coming into the show.
thank you
And
for
look,
having
This has
me.
look
been,
what Anthony got for you. He got you
Yeah.
He got it for you.
Bigfoot. Nope, he got it for you. We knew you were coming. Hey, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Hey, make sure you follow her. I know her information's been up the whole time. We'll see everybody next week on NerdQuest. Bye.
Take care.
Bye.